Okay, hello everyone in police systems and practices. This week we're in week 3, chapter 4, police strategies. This week's chapter covers evolving strategies of policing, landmark studies of police effectiveness, strategic developments, and strategic alternatives. And finally, what works in policing.
Well, it happened on November 22nd, 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. I swiped myself onto the train, and there was another gentleman there. He needed to get on the train, so I opened up the door for him. And as he came in, and we were standing on the platform, one detective came from the right, another detective came from the left. They grabbed both of us, they put us up against the wall, placed us in handcuffs, asked us for our IDs. They ran our names and everything, and they let the other guy go. And they kept me because they said I was a recidivist, that I had a criminal record. So I went through the system, and before I went out to see the judge, my lawyer came to the back to speak to me, and I was quick to ask her, so can I get community service or a fine? And she was like, no, they want to offer you time. When I got out in front of the judge said, 10 days, Mr. Garcia, take it or leave it.
The broken windows theory comes from a magazine article that was published in The Atlantic in 1982. It was written by conservative criminologists George Kelling and James Q. Wilson. Wilson's earlier work had looked at the history of policing and the different styles over time, and he was really interested in the 19th century versions of policing, which were really much more focused on order maintenance than law enforcement. And he felt that that was the direction that policing need to go in the wake of the kind of social unrest of the 1960s and 70s. So a lot of the broken windows theory was driven by these historical concerns and understandings rather than any new empirical research. We usually associate the broken windows theory here in New York with Giuliani. It was the Manhattan Institute, a very conservative, kind of billionaire-funded think tank that introduced him to the idea. He then took that idea and melded it with his neoconservative politics that said that what the city needs is to restore order rather than to engage in any kind of reinvestment in communities in distress, etc. Here in New York, the broken windows took the form of aggressively targeting homeless populations, street-level drug dealing, and over time becomes even more invasive, more aggressive.
When I was in there was a lot of other people who was telling me they were in there for the same thing, for jumping the turnstile. And actually there was some people in there who had gotten 20 days. So I started saying like, well, damn, 10 days, I kind of lucked out then in a way. They figure if they continue to, you know what I'm saying, harass people for minor offenses, their offenses won't get worse. But I think that's crap because they continue to arrest the same people over and over. You know, I know guys who came out who got arrested for sleeping on the streets, and a couple of days later they keep arresting them. So I really don't see that as working, because none of these guys that they're arresting, they are the guys that are just sleeping on the streets or people that jump turnstiles. I don't see how that's going to stop people from doing worse crimes.
One of the questions about the broken windows theory is whether or not there really is a clear causal relationship between order and serious crime. It's clear that through concerted action, the police can do something about public disorder. The question is whether or not that has anything to do with the homicide rate or the amount of armed robberies. The correlation is not super strong, and the actual mechanisms of causation are not very clear. There have been a number of studies done in the U.S. and in Europe, and the results are very mixed. There are places that show some connection between broken windows and serious crime, but many serious studies in the U.S. show no connection. One example would be that the efforts to get rid of squeegee men and aggressive panhandlers in parts of Midtown Manhattan certainly improved the orderliness of those neighborhoods, but didn't have any effect on serious crime because there wasn't any serious crime in those areas.
So here I am walking down the steps towards the scene of the crime. Can I add a trip on this? If you don't have money, these things here, the turnstiles, they're a barrier for anybody trying to get to work, a doctor's appointment. You might have to go get food. You might have to go see your mother. You might have to go pick up a kid, a family member, something. If you ain't got no money, these things are a barrier. Yeah, to me, broken window policing, I think it's just broken policing.
The main concern that I have about broken windows policing, which I discuss in my new book, The End of Policing, is that policing comes with a lot of really negative collateral consequences. People who get arrested for low-level infractions run the risk of losing jobs, having family problems, being saddled with significant fines and court costs, and all of this is directed almost entirely towards the poorest members of our community. Officers could have used their discretion to give Mr. Garcia a warning and send him on his way. Instead, they put him in the criminal justice system at a cost of thousands of dollars to the public and undermine his future employability. Here's someone who's had problems with the law in the past, but is employed, is moving in the right direction, and instead of getting support is being pulled back into a system that's going to make him further alienated, harder to get into mainstream society, and potentially more of a future burden on the rest of us. Does it make sense to invest a huge amount of resources in arresting people for jumping the turnstile? Or does it make more sense to try to come to grips with the fact that there are large numbers of New Yorkers who can't afford to ride the train and that we need to develop a system of reduced fare Metro cards, etc.?
In other cities, they just give you a ticket. In New York City, they put you in jail. What's up with that?
Hi, my name is Ricky Arena. I am a community policing specialist for the city of Grand Rapids.
Hi, my name is Officer Allison Colden. I have been a police officer with the Grand Rapids Police Department for almost 4 years, and I've been a community police officer for almost 3 years.
When I first joined the police department, I started as a patrol officer working in the South Service area. About 2 years doing that, there was an opening for a community policing specialist, and I took the chance. I applied for it, and I got it. I've been a community policing specialist for 3 years now, and my assigned neighborhood is the Roosevelt Park Neighborhood Association.
So different things that we do as a community police officer, we're out in the community that we're serving, making contacts with the schools, the businesses, the neighborhood associations. So when people ask me what a community police officer is, I like to tell them we're a liaison between the community that we serve and the police department.
The first thing I do as a community policing specialist is I read the reports from the night prior, just so I can be familiar with what happened or what's happening in my neighborhood. And then I go from there. If I see, for example, that a certain address popping up over and over again, then I'll go and speak to them. I'll see what's going on or what's the issue.
Each community officer is assigned to a service area, so I'm assigned to the South Service area. And the neighborhood that I'm assigned to is the East Hills neighborhood, or what we like to call South 1.
So I used to be a community officer for the Oakdale Neighborhood Association, and they moved me to the southwest side, the Roosevelt Park Neighborhood Association. One of the main reasons is there's a large Hispanic population. I was born in Dominican Republic and I speak Spanish, so in a way it's easier to interact, and I enjoy working with them. You see the sense of them wanting to work with law enforcement and them trying to better their community.
The community police officers do work closely with the neighborhood association if they do have one in their neighborhood. Our neighborhood association has a monthly meeting where residents can come in and ask questions to the neighborhood association or their community police officer if they're experiencing any issues or concerns that need to be addressed.
We pretty much just go back and forth with information. So if they have, for example, a drug house or a trouble house, they'll inform me of that, and I'll try to find the best way to resolve that issue. That can either be with working with housing compliance or with our vice unit or with doing plainclothes assignments or just being present more in that area. So we do a variety of different things to tackle those issues.
One of my favorite parts about being a community police officer is when we get to go to the schools and hang out with the kids. About once a week, I go into the school just to check in with the principal and to say hi to the kids. They always ask me for stickers. I can never have enough. They're always like, give me a sticker, give me a sticker. Bye. Sometimes I'll go out to recess and play with the kids, play Foursquare, and read to the classes during reading month. I do think that it is beneficial for kids to see police officers in a different light. They can get to know us and build that trust or that relationship at a young age. And then I also give presentations to the classes about safety tips, such as wearing your bike helmet during the summer, looking both ways before you cross the street, don't talk to strangers.
We do a lot of events such as recruiting. We go to like school events, community events, community meetings, housing meetings, pretty much any event that our department or our community would like us to attend, we attend.
One event that we attend in the summer at Cherry Park is the summer concert series. So it's a good opportunity for the residents in the neighborhood to get out, mingle with other residents, as well as meet their community police officer.
As community policing specialists, we also do traffic stops, high-risk traffic stops. We also respond to calls. For example, I like going to calls because I also get to know what's going on in my neighborhood by responding to a domestic or a troubled person or a business having issues with someone or something like that.
So as a community police officer, we are still assigned to patrol, but we are not tied to the call rotation. So we have the availability to go out and make the school and business contacts rather than just simply responding to 911 calls. We kind of have more of that freedom to make our day how we want it to be and address the concerns and needs of our neighborhood.
The best part of my job is that I get to interact with the community. I get to go to schools, foot patrols, bike patrol if I wanted to. If they want to go play basketball with the kids, we could do that.
I like that the job is, out in the field. You're not sitting at a desk. You're interacting with kids, businesses, and really helping people out that need you there for them.
There's a specific role of what we do on a daily basis. Pretty much go out there and address any issue that comes up.
So not every day is going to be the same. Every area focuses on a different crime and what pertains to their neighborhood, what crime trends they're seeing. So we might take a different approach on our day-to-day activities. Foot patrol might be increased. We might increase in surveillance. It just depends on the type of crime.
So I think it takes a certain kind of officer being able to multitask, go to calls, do traffic stops, and then, let's say, go to school and tutor a kid. I think it takes a certain kind of officer to do that.
So I think it's important for our job as a community police officer to get out in our neighborhood, get to know the residents that we're serving, as well as the kids in the school. So their first contact with us isn't on a 911 call or on a traffic stop. It helps us become familiar with our residents. So when we go to a 911 call or we get a complaint, we can better help serve them and they can better help serve us.
That's it. Let's get ready for week 4.